Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and welcome to Jambareeqi Orange, the show where I let my patrons decide what I review. The options for this episode included Klaus, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, A Christmas Carol, Santa with Muscles, The Christmas Chronicles, and The Santa Claus. Ebenezer Scrooge is a grumpy old rich man who treats his employee, Bob Cratchit, poorly, and snubs his kind-hearted nephew, Fred. But this Christmas Eve will change everything, as Scrooge's deceased business partner, Marley, warns him of 3 ghosts, each of which help Ebenezer to see the light through their hauntings. A Christmas Carol is a story that's been adapted into film and animation many times. So it makes sense for director Robert Zemeckis to find a new twist on the tale by utilising his favourite filmmaking wizardry of motion capture animation. For those of you who don't know, motion capture takes live action performances and turns them into computer animation. It's a technology that's pretty hit or miss, all depending on how it's pulled off. It can either serve as effective digital makeup for actors, or unintentionally end up being nightmare fuel. Unfortunately, I think this movie falls into the latter in my eyes. Characters are this strange blend of hyper-realistic and slightly exaggerated, making them look like creepy celebrity wax models that have come to life. All because they reach this level of uncanny valley that doesn't sit right with me. This film's animation is certainly an improvement on Zemeckis' last motion capture Christmas movie, The Polar Express. But that's not much of a compliment if I'm frank. The film is rather gimmicky when you think about it, relying on several attractions to help it stand out from other takes on the Victorian novel. Not only is the motion capture being used as a major selling point, but you can also tell that a lot of shots were designed to be seen in stereoscopic 3D, which can be annoyingly distracting if you're watching the film casually in 2D. Hollywood superstar Jim Carrey has been cast as multiple characters do, including Scrooge and the 3 Christmas ghosts. While I do understand that the movie wants to make a statement about the ghost being part of Scrooge, which is a clever idea on paper, I don't think Jim Carrey is the best actor for such an ambitiously layered allegory. Don't get me wrong, Jim Carrey is a very capable actor who's proven that he has a knack for drama, but he's also someone that loves to overact if given the freedom, and it seems that Zemeckis is taking Jim Carrey off his leash for a lot of scenes. Carrey's portrayal of Scrooge is hard to buy when he just doesn't seem believable as an old man, no matter how much digital makeup he's wearing or the lengths he goes to change his voice, because this is quite perhaps the most youthful and energetic version of Scrooge I've ever seen.
Oh, I was blind! Blind and could not see my whole life squandered and misused. Oh, woe is me!
But you're always a good man of business.
However, to be fair, Carrey at least handles the dialogue quite well, bringing a cold harshness to each delivery.
Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Humbug.
Christmas humbug? Uncle, you don't mean that.
Merry Christmas. What reason have you to be merry?
Then there's Carrey's Ghost of Christmas Past, who is downright uncomfortable to look at. It's basically a candle with Jim Carrey's face creepily slapped on. Plus Jim gives him this weird twitch to indicate flickering, and he has this breathy voice, both of which add to the character's unintentionally intense vibe.
These are but shadows of things that have been. They have no consciousness of us.
This ghost is meant to represent childhood nostalgia and past innocence, but he's more unsettling than charming. Sure, he's a ghost, so of course he's meant to be a little spooky, but this is just a weird kind of spooky. The Ghost of Christmas Present is a little better, but still strangely executed. Carrey delivers his dialogue with a thick Sheffield accent in a bid to sound like a relatable common man, which does suit the character, but as a Sheffield native myself, I have to say that his accent sounds a bit off and sometimes clumsily slips into other Northern British accents.
Hear me, Scrooge. There are some upon this earth of yours who claim to know me and my brothers, and do their deeds of ill will and selfishness in our name. These so-called men of the cloth are as strange to me and my kin as if they never lived.
He's also supposed to be a jolly and lovable spirit, perhaps the most wholesome of the three. However, Carey's stretchy acting and the creepy Uncanny Valley motion capture make him more intimidating than intended. Lastly, there's the Ghost of Christmas Future, who is perhaps the best take on a spirit in the film, mainly because he's the only ghost that's supposed to be full-on scary, but also due to the creativity that's gone into giving a sinister personality to an abstract shadow. Carey has stated that he based this ghost on the French mime Marcel Marceau, and I have to say that it does pay off greatly. My other problem is that the film can be quite excessive at times. It'll take a simple scene from the book and try to make it more exciting, which certainly helps this film stand out from other adaptations, but at the cost of losing what Charles Dickens was going for. There's a number of moments in the film that are overindulgent, to the point where you can tell that the technology is coming before the story. Examples include Marley's warning to Scrooge being interrupted by a goofy broken jaw comedy gag that's more annoying than funny, Scrooge putting out the Christmas ghost of past flame and then jetting up to the sky like a rocket blasting off, which is just silly, the ghost of Christmas present having a melodramatically terrifying death that becomes overkill. I'm all for being surprisingly dark for a family film, but there should be some level of restraint. The ghost of Christmas future not only sending a phantom carriage after Scrooge in a pointless chase sequence, but also shrinking Scrooge down to hammer in how he feels small when hearing others saying bad things about him. Do you see what I mean? I get that the movie wants to define itself by approaching these scenes in its own unique ways, which is an awesome ambition, but sometimes different doesn't always mean good. There are subtle reasons why these scenes aren't overdramatic or action-packed in the original novel, and forcing such extreme reimaginings can come off as rather gratuitous. However, I can't say that this movie is a complete failure, because it isn't. When something works in this movie, it really, really works. First of all, I have to commend the film for how it captures the atmosphere of its story. It paints winter in Victorian London with a strong vividness. You can really feel the cold of the snow, and it's like you've been transported back in time. Each set is incredibly immersive too. Scrooge's counting house looks so dank and cramped. It's a big reason why we feel for Bob Cratchit, and understand how uncomfortable it must be to work there. Heck, I can tell that the counting house's ambience and structure fed into Scrooge's bitterness over the years. Not only that, the Cratchit's house is sympathetically tiny and dark, crushing our hearts at the very thought that this well-knit family has to share something so depressing. Plus, Fred's house is so warm and inviting to be inside of, utilising strong colours associated with Christmas and being full of festive cheer as the party plays out. Secondly, while I did say that this movie has a habit of going overboard with some scenes, it's still a movie that's capable of being very imaginative, exceptionally creative even. One example would be how the first ghost uses facial transformation to torment Scrooge with memories of past faces. That's a great touch and something that works well through motion capture. Not to mention the second ghost uses a window in the floor to show Scrooge's Christmas present timeline, as he controls its perspective with a drone-like viewpoint that's guided by his torch. It's a very imaginative take on a ghost's power. Then when Scrooge visits his future, he has to confront a timeline where Bob's son Tiny Tim has died, and he's forced to stare at a grieving Bob right in the face. It's a truly powerful and beautifully handled moment that's perfect for getting the ghost message across. These more nuanced ideas really serve as the movie's best highlights, because they're uniquely creative without ever disrupting the story's intended tone. However, I'd have to say that my favourite part of this movie is its ending. No, I'm not trying to be sarcastically harsh, let me explain. When the ghosts stop haunting Scrooge and he comes out of this experience as a better man, the movie really excels at showing a more earnest and compassionate Ebenezer. This is mainly because Jim Carrey's biggest strength as an actor is his energetic charisma, which is ideal for showing a Scrooge with a bigger love for life and a lively Christmas spirit. I think that this is when Carrey's chosen acting style finally fits Scrooge. Although it's an ending that also shines because of the overall uplifting nature of the direction and visuals. Colours are brighter and more vibrant, townspeople are in the mood for Christmas, and the winter atmosphere is at its strongest yet in the film.
Hello? Is the bird?
Hello! Whoop! How are you? Merry Christmas.
To conclude, it's hard to sum up my thoughts on this movie. One moment I'm shaking my head at something bizarre, or feeling disturbed by the Uncanny Valley motion capture characters. But then I'm suddenly amazed by a clever idea, or genuinely moved by an emotional scene. How do I explain such an experience like that? The movie understands the original book and Charles Dickens' intentions behind it, but it also has a habit of overindulging in the huge freedom that comes with animation and tries to make subdued scenes more exciting and comedic than they need to be. It's well-meaning at heart, but also excessive and misguided at times too. The thing is, I can't deny that it still managed to give me the same feels as any other Christmas Carol adaptation. It's not a bad movie, but it's certainly very flawed in execution. So those are my thoughts on A Christmas Carol 2009. What do you think of this movie? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm sorry that this video came out later than expected. I mean, it's well past Christmas, but I didn't want to upload something half-baked. I had to take the time with this one. So what am I going to be reviewing in the next episode of Jambareeqi Orange? Well, that's entirely up to my patrons. The options for the next episode include Wolfwalkers, Soul, Bobbleheads the Movie, Tenet, We Can Be Heroes, and Wonder Woman. That's a pretty awesome selection, am I right? Now don't forget that you have to become a patron in order to access this poll. What is a patron? Don't worry, I'll explain. This is my Patreon. It's a site for my fans to support me financially on through a monthly basis. Those who donate are called patrons. Patrons can donate as much as they want and are welcome to stop donating any time. In return for their generosity, patrons are given exciting rewards based on their pledge amount. These rewards include early access to my videos before they go up publicly on YouTube, behind the scenes content, their name in the end credits of my videos, a chance to request a review of anything at all, and much more. Very excited to find out what my patrons want me to do next on the show. Cheerio, folks.